Namaskar. We welcome all of you today to our overall well-being series. I have Mr. Shankar Chatterjee here from SQ Transcontinental Services. Shankar sir, I request you to please introduce yourself to us today.
First of all, thank you for the warm welcome and the invitation. It's an absolute privilege to be able to speak on a very interesting topic. Introducing yourself is perhaps the most difficult thing to do to start with, because normally when people talk about you, they speak some nice things about you. But when you talk about yourself, it's always tough. Let me give you a one-line introduction of who I am. I think I'm a simple person who's working every single day to complete his unfinished story. In one sentence, if I had to sum up the entire deliberation, I think that's how I would describe it. I've been a professional for 30 years of my life. And in these 30 years, I've seen two ends of work. One as a working professional, and the last 7 to 8 years, this is my 31st year at work. So now, last 7 to 8 years, I'm now what they call an entrepreneur. I'm trying to set up a global business. And trust me, this is not easy. This is very, very tough as a job. Much tougher to be than becoming a CEO of a company. This is the toughest end of the job, to set up something, create jobs for people. And we're actually talking at a time when the world is going through one of the worst phases that we can ever think of. It's pandemic, but more than the pandemic, I always feel that the problem at the moment is that people are now choosing that what next they should do in their lives to even survive. They're not thinking of success. They're thinking of survival. Businesses, on the other hand, are having a very, very major predicament. The predicament is to choose between profits, which they're there for, and the people who would be creating those profits. I must say that in some ways, I'm a little disappointed with some of the large organizations, which I observed very closely in the last 1 year. Many of them actually ironically chose profits to people, not realizing that people make profits. Profits don't make people. As far as this discussion is not so much about our company, but in a brief line, if I have to say, we are into the space of global logistics, which is what I've done for 3 decades of my life. What we try to do in the company are 3 things, and I think that sums up the entire organization's ethos. We serve, we support, and we simplify. And we are into the business of movement. Now, when you are in the business of movement, you effectively carry the world. Because the world moves because we make things move. So that's my little introduction of our business. But as an owner of my company, if I have to give you a one-line plan for the company, is that we always, in any walk of life, in this organization, we carry our values and not just the cargo. So I think that's my sum up of who I am or what the organization that I represent is.
It's so beautiful to listen to the knowledge that you shared with us today, that you put your employees first. That is something which all organizations need to look into. And the fact that you want to put the customers first and serve them and make sure that you are able to deliver best service, especially at a day and age, like you exactly said, where products are available by the click of the button. We just sit in front of the computer and say, hey, I want this, and we order this. And you guys are the ones who make sure you get the goods across the oceans to us at our doorstep. It is it is a very beautiful industry, I would say, with so many people, hardworking people, to coordinate everything which is going on. When you started your conversation, you said that you found this as an entrepreneur, starting a global organization, you found it very challenging. Would you like to please share some of your insights on it with us today?
Do you know, it's like this, that I've seen both sides of the table. And I can tell you that when you work for others, there are so many capable people who are top professionals, and they're doing exceptional jobs. One thing you have always got when you're working as an executive is a sense of security. And at a certain level, once you reach, you have that feeling of security in a job that you're running as a professional CEO, CXO, whatever. Whereas when you start a new organization, I can assure you, from the very morning when you start the company, you first start as an absolute nobody. Whatever you did for the last 25, 20, 28 years, suddenly is useless that morning. So your life becomes a success when you make a success out of it. So it does not matter that how many movies you acted in and how many were super hits. If that Friday your movie has not hit, you're absolutely nobody. And this is a very important element of a transition. Number two, remember one thing, that people who are weak-hearted, who want to see security in their lives every single morning, who want to see a certain amount of money in the bank every morning, business is not for them. Business needs courage and lots and lots and lots of it. I keep using this analogy that when you're in business, you're literally doing a bungee jump. You're jumping off the cliff, knowing fully well that you haven't tied up your feet very well. If you come up, brilliant, you're a success. People will feature you in brilliant magazines. Kind people like you will call them for interviews. But if you don't, it's not a nice thing to happen. And you know, when I write, when I speak, you will often find that I do not talk about all the nice things that Buddha said or someone said, because there is so much of Buddha hiding inside us that we can talk about our lives and you can never finish it. There's so much in a lifetime that you see.
It's so true. And when you were talking about business entrepreneurs, the fact of that you gave the example of a person doing bungee jumping and jumping off the cliff without having the cord tied at the end of the leg, I felt like I was actually doing it, and it's scary. It's a feeling that I can't even imagine. To get up every day morning feeling that way and still having the courage to go forward is something I should actually applaud you for having. So what is it that gives you the courage, sir? How do you pull yourself through?
It's a brilliant question. You know, what makes you go through it is something called self-belief. You know, while you talk of well-being, I always think of the words being well. Now, what is being well? Being well means every morning you have got to tell yourself that you're damn good. You're damn good. This is what you need to tell yourself. I don't need to see a beautiful sermon on my WhatsApp, good morning messages telling you about how beautiful the day is. All of this is not what makes you happy. What makes you happy is you. You tell yourself that, listen, there is something brilliant which my parents did, and therefore I'm in this world. And because I'm in this world, I might as well make the best of what I am, who I am. Nobody else tells you this. You say this to yourself. And once you start feeling like that, and I can tell you one more reality. Every morning, I do not get up from my bed thinking so high of myself. No. There are mornings when I'm absolutely down. And those are the challenges of those days when you need to slap yourself and say, listen, get up again, put on your suit, pick up your bag, and get out and go to work. You know why? Not because of yourself, because you are responsible for the lives of so many people. When you're an executive of a company, and no offense meant to the brilliant men and women who do that, when you're executive of a company, you are squarely indispensable, no matter how brilliant we feel about ourselves. You could be replaced. Someone else could be brought into the same chair, and it will take them a few minutes to do it. When you are responsible for so many people with you, their lives, the projects which will bring money to the table, then that is a different life altogether. And that needs a lot of self-motivation. And it doesn't happen very easily.
Yes, I completely agree. I could see the passion you have in your words when you say that you need to get yourself up every morning, just the feeling that so many people out there are depending on me. Wow, that's something really strong, a very big responsibility that you need to shoulder. And we need powerful leaders like you to actually move us forward and motivate us, share with us what you do in your lives every day. Where do you get the courage? One simple thing which you said is you wake up in the morning thinking that you're a nobody. How many people actually do that? It's really quite amazing. And the reason why you do that, when you get up in the morning, you think that you're actually a nobody, is because
Many reasons are there. There is something called a chair, and the man who's sitting on that chair. Please make no mistakes, and I've seen this live of a professional from both sides, as I said. Sometimes people love your chair, and you mistake it that they love you as a person. One day when the chair is not next to you and you're trying to create another chair, that's the time you will realize that there's only a small section of people who are really standing next to you then. And this is true for everybody. True for the President of the United States, true for the Prime Minister of India, and true for a little guy like me. It makes no difference to anyone. It's the same. So therefore, one fine morning when you set out to create another mission, you suddenly have to give yourself the motivation to start with. And then you create the mission in such a way that people start joining you in your agenda. But this does not happen on the day one. This takes time. Like, I'm able to give you my perspective because you gave me the opportunity to speak with you. Sometimes some people do not give you the opportunity to speak with them. They create perceptions about you. So one thing or the other, every morning you are kind of climbing the next step in the ladder. You're trying to achieve something more. That's why every night when I go to sleep, and this has become my habit, sometimes a little self-torturous, if I may say, I ask myself, what did I achieve in the day? What did I do? What did I do so great, which hopefully I didn't do the previous day? Did I do something different? Did I meet some more people, like I'm meeting one more person today? This is a very important question. And trust me, business is not just making money. Business is creating opportunity. Business is not a singular success perspective. When I see people on business magazines, on the front pages, well, they're there because of some success they've created. But it is not one person who made business successful. It is the sad end of it that someone becomes the icon. But really, the people who are around that individual are the real icons. They make these people look big. They make them on the magazine covers. Problem is, many people don't realize that. And I personally feel that when you're creating something new, the most challenging time is the time when you bridge this gap and go to the next level in life. Once you're successful, everyone is nice to you.
Sure. One moment, sir. I just need to call. I apologize.
No problem. Are you okay?
I'm fine, thank you. I apologize for the interruption there.
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry.
Okay. So yes, I completely agree with you that the person who stands in front of the cover, in front of the magazine, is only one person, but the people around them are the ones who make the whole difference for that one person to actually stand out. And it is that one leader, I would like to add, who actually takes or pulls the other people together with him, sharing his value. They connect with him, with their story. They make that their life purpose, what he wants to achieve, the objective for the company. They make it their life purpose and work along with him. That is what puts the company through.
That's true. Absolutely. The leader's job is actually a very, very important job of integration. Integration of ideas, integration of thoughts, integration of values, integration of requirements. And the moment you start thinking that you are actually an extended family in a business, trust me, I mean, the people who work with you, they spend 12 hours of a day being with you. So what else are they except that they're your family?
It's a beautiful way to put it, sir. I'm sure that all the employees in your company, the people who are working with you, who are around you, are really, really lucky to have you as their leader. You have a lot of knowledge. Sorry about
I have to
that.
ask all of I have to ask them what they feel about it, but this is how I feel.
I'm sure they would reflect the same values as well, because I can see with the way that you give people around you the importance, the fact that you even acknowledged on this platform saying that is the people around the person, one person who's standing in front of the magazine, they are the ones who make all the difference. That shows how much you care about the people around you. It's quite amazing.
This also comes with a price. This also comes with a price sometimes, because it's like, look at the organizations who are just retrenching people today, letting them go, with 1 month's salary, maybe sometimes even that is not paid. Look at these companies. And what are they doing? They're choosing profits to people at the worst possible time for any organization, for anybody, any human being.
That's true.
This is the time to get up and walk with your people, walk with your team. And I personally feel that many organizations, many, barring a couple of them, who I know as global companies who have not retrenched even one person. They have reorganized their positions, but they have not retrenched them. But many organizations have actually failed their people today. And that is very heart-wrenching. But coming to the positive side, it's a phase for learning, for reinventing yourself, for asking yourself who you are, what do you wish to do next. This is a brilliant time to do all of that.
What would your advice be for a company or any organization which is facing themselves in a similar situation where they are unable to provide any profits to the employees who are working with them or have been with them for quite some time? Not because they don't want to, but they're not able to generate profits. How will they work something out like that with their employees?
I have heard this question before, and my answer is actually very simple. Mm-hmm. Now, some people may debate what I'm going to tell you now. Mm-hmm. The answer is simple because what do you effectively do when, let's say, you're an earning member in your family, and suddenly one fine day, you've lost your job. Your revenues at home has come down. You're not earning anymore. Do you go back home and tell your sister, your brother, that, listen, I'm not earning anymore, so don't stay in my house anymore. Please leave. Is that what you do?
No, not at all.
It's exactly what a company is all about. If the company is not making enough money to be able to pay employees their salaries, mm-hmm. or their emoluments and other forms, company has to reorganize themselves. Mm-hmm. The man at the top, and I say this with a lot of cynicism, the man at the top will have to ask yourself, as the man on top, you need to introspect and say to yourself, should I take that salary back home this month? Mm-hmm. Because my one salary can save the lives of 28 people. Mm-hmm. How many people have really thought about that? How many? To me, the answer is very simple. The people in your team will have to corroborate with you, make sure that they are part of the company at the worst possible phase as well. It's not a fly-by-night relationship. If that's the case, let them go. If you are the boss, if you are the man in charge of the company, I don't like the word boss anyway, but if you're the man in charge of a company, you're the leader of that, you need to go back and tell everyone that, listen, ladies and gentlemen, my dear friends, I have a problem. I cannot sustain this financial situation. Would you please stand by me? This time will go. This phase will go over. 2 months, 12 months, 16 months. One day this useless pandemic has to end. After that, what? Would you get your good people off the shelf and bring them back to the company? It never happens. For me, this has been the biggest challenge that I've seen in the recent times. This is part of your well-being, actually. That's why I said being well, being part of a process is very, very important. You know, if I have to give you a perspective, I was thinking of the word topics yesterday. And I came across a little abbreviation of the word topics. For me, This topic is very important because the alphabet T stands for your target. You've got to tell yourself what is it that you're trying to achieve. Once you're clear of that, you communicate that adequately to people and create a well-being for everyone, because that's the target everyone will then work towards. The second point is the alphabet O in topics. It means obstacles, O for obstacles. If there were no obstacles, your program on well-being was redundant. So we have to plan the obstacles. We've got to work around it. We've got to have an alternate plan if there's no one way of doing something correctly. And you have to have a contingency plan for everyone, including yourself, right? The other word is basically about the person. So P in the word topics is person. You know what is the biggest problem in the concept of well-being? The biggest problem is most people do not even know themselves. I'm not trying to sound like a God man or a religious preacher here. In my limited knowledge, when I meet with people, I look for 2 or 3 things. I look to understand that, is this individual clear of what he's thinking or she's thinking? Number 2, I always feel that the person has got to not just love himself or herself, but the universe around them. Most problems happen when you start becoming so selfish that you haven't worried about everybody else who makes you successful. So once you're clear of what your pluses are, all of us suffer from negatives, all of us, including me. Trust me, I've made many, many mistakes in life. Many, not the grievous ones, but on the way of taking my decisions, many. So you got to know where your level of incompetence is. And once you're clear of that, then everything else works around it. You may idealize someone, but that necessarily doesn't mean that that's what you're fit for. Most people worry about, oh, this is so difficult. They worry the negativities about their characteristics. For me, I rather work on my strength rather than worry about my weakness. Now, this is an important point. The other important point is your image. One of the biggest problems of well-being is that people cannot be well because they continuously map their success vis-a-vis their self-image. And trust me, I say it with my own example. When I was a 21-year-old professional walking into the job of a management trainee, my whole image about what success is was completely different. There's been a paradigm shift in the last 3 decades. Today, I don't want to be successful only for myself. I don't want to just drive a nice car or live in a nice house, which was then success for me. Today's success is, how do I build a group of happy faces who can make other people happy? So it has a not arithmetic, now a geometric progression in terms of how people can spread happiness. So the individual is very important. And last 2 words are C and S. The C stands for clarity. Trust me, if you have clarity in what you're thinking, only that person can make the organization clear, the individuals clear of the thought. And clarity doesn't always come with your clarity. It also is translated as a communication where the person listens to you and is equally clear. Sometimes they have a perspective which is even better than who you thought you are or you had. Those kinds of clarity brings about synergy of thoughts between people. And lastly, the biggest pain in the world, and I'm not trying to sound again like a preacher, the biggest pain in the world, and it has happened to me as well, is the word expectation out of success. The moment you start expecting people to be nice to you, people to be true to you, people to be kind to you, people to look after you when you need them. You know, during the worst times, especially as an entrepreneur, I can say it today, when you reach the worst times of your life, that's the time when you realize who your real well-wishers are. And it is such a beautiful moment. All the nice words, WhatsApp messages, people who call you with nice names, say nice things about you, is complete humbug. What stands is only that point when they act according to what they said about you. So look for actions.
Wow, that was really powerful, sir. I feel that we need powerful leaders who lead with their heart like you. We need people like you who would lead other people, who give importance to people around them. We need people like you who would give importance to their employees. We would need leaders like you who would put others first before themselves and yet not expect anything in return from them. It is leaders like you who can lead us forward. Namaskar, sir. Really thank you for joining us today and giving us this beautiful, powerful, motivational talk. I'm sure all of us here would have got a lot of knowledge through your beautiful and kind words. I thank you again for joining us today, sir.
It's my pleasure to be with you. Thank you.